morning, everybody. Huge warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Just a big welcome and good morning to you as you all come through from the waiting room. What a lovely day it is to start off our Monday. Apparently we've got sunshine all week here in the UK. I know that others will be dialing in from other locations. So it's a huge welcome to all of you. For those of you that haven't met me before, my name's Amanda. I am one of the founders of the CPD Standards Office, and we have an independent set of accreditation services for training, education and coaching providers. And many of you will be carrying our CPD Standards blue logo, as well as our gold Training Excellence and Coach of Excellence logos. And every month, because we believe in continuing professional development, not just for you as providers, but also for you personally. As trainers and educators, speakers and coaches, it's also our duty to keep ourselves up to date. And it's always a real privilege and enjoyable session to have these webinars and interactive workshops every month, and for you to give yourself the time and the space to be able to learn something new. So today's session is around inclusion and belonging. We've got a phenomenal speaker joining us, and we're looking at how we can expand horizons in training and coaching. So just a little bit of housekeeping. As I said, this session is for you. Okay, so if you can, please mute your phone, mute your emails, and minimize your distractions so you can get the best out of this session. If any of you have a question about your membership with us, your assessment, your accreditation, anything like that, then our wonderful colleague Kirsty Walker is online, and send her a direct message through the chat. Because the chat is for questions, it's for observations, it's for comments, any sort of interest or relative points you're making, do bring it out. And just so you know, it's being recorded, so you're very welcome to have your video and your visual on, but just be aware that it is being uploaded to YouTube. But we do ask that you mute your microphone all the way through. So today is essentially a 45-minute interactive workshop. It's not just a webinar. We've got breakout rooms, we've got polls, we're going to use interactive Q&A, and it'll be at least 45 minutes, probably up to an hour as you've all booked on, but we'll be using the time really constructively on a really interactive basis. And I'm so looking forward to this session in particular. So our guest speaker today is Joanne Lockwood. So it's a huge warm welcome to you as well. Joanne's from her organisation See Change Happen, and is an inclusive culture expert. So See Change Happened was founded in 2017, and Joanne works with a range of corporates with the HR departments, with the DEI, with organisational development, and essentially overall the people that work with people in large organisations. So it's a great privilege, Joanne, to have you with us today. I'm really looking forward to the session. I'm going to hand over to you now. And thank you ever so much in advance for your time today. Everybody else, as I said, it's a session for you. It's a session to think about how you think about being inclusive across your training and coaching practices. So let's get started, and let's get going, Joanne.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for that warm introduction. No pressure at all with an introduction like that. It certainly sets me right up there. And I'm always conscious when I'm delivering sessions to other training professionals, people in this space, there's almost like double the pressure to get it right, because I'm trying to educate the educators, and that carries its own challenges. And not only that, I'm talking about how to create more inclusive sessions for you. So I'm also conscious that I need to make sure this session is inclusive for you as well. So there's a whole load of stuff going on in my head right now, but I'm absolutely pleased to be here. So I'm going to pop my slides over my shoulder, so hopefully you can all see them there. If you can't, use the three dots, maximize the screen. I'll present like this. So I'm a great believer that you're here to listen to me, not to read the slides. The slides are there to support you, not to be you. So, which is why I like to put myself big rather than as a little matchbox in the corner. I've called this expanding horizons in training and coaching. And hopefully what I want to do today is just enlighten you into thinking about stuff maybe you haven't thought of when you're preparing your materials, think about your sessions, think about your learners, or thinking about the people you're interacting with. So that's kind of the idea. Let me jump through that. So a quick check-in. I mean, if you've got a second, just pop into the chat. You don't need to say anything out loud. Just where you are in the world, where you've come from, and if you've got a brief idea of why you registered, why are you here today, so I can have a quick glance just to make sure that I'm ticking off all the points that you're keen to see. Hopefully we'll cover all of those, but yeah, just pop those in the chat. I don't mind if you type away while you're listening. That's fine as well. Okay. Right, where's my button gone? Lost my button, wrong side. So a participation agreement, I always like to start with these. It's not rules and regulations or anything like that. It's just expectations of each other. And whether I'm doing in-person or online sessions, I want to know that we're all on the same page. Typically, I would ask my participants to form an agreement where we're all present in the moment. We put our phones down, we disconnect, flight mode, whatever we need to do, whilst also respecting the fact that some people are on call, some people have high demanding jobs, but ask them to step out of the room if they need to. And the same goes for today. If you need to step out, you need to do something else, absolutely fine. If you don't want to have your camera on, absolutely fine, that's fine. I always find that if you want to ask a question, sometimes it's nice to see a face, but again, that's up to you. I'm not trying to set any rules here other than we all engage. There are no daft questions, as they say. So please ask what you need to ask, pop it in the chat. I'll glance from time to time. But let's all work on this together and be present. Okay. I will have a QR code at the end, which you can scan if you wish. So if you have got your phone handy, and that will give you access to some bonus content. I'll share the slide deck and other things with you as well. So look out for that and I'll signpost it as we go. Okay. So as Amanda said, we've got some polls, some quizzes, and a couple of breakouts. Okay, here we go. So my first question to you is, what's your why? What's your why of D&I? I like that because it rhymes. Because I'm a great believer that it has to matter to you as a person, as an organization, if you work for a bigger company. Because if you're not careful, what happens is our D&I becomes performative. It becomes, oh, everyone's being trendy. It's so woke. We have to do all this. So what I'm asking you to think about is, why does it matter to you, as I say, as an individual, to you as a training organization, a coach, a provider? What difference does it make in your life? Because I think once we can answer that question, then we can see it as part of our business strategy, part of what we do, rather than this bolt on. Yeah. So let me talk about what I see the whys are. And I'm going to talk about the ancient Greek philosophy. I think it was Aristotle that came up with this. And he talked about ethos. Ethos is the ethical response, the compliance. We have to do it. Yeah, it's good practice. I mean, many of you are CPD certified, accredited, and part of that assessment is around your inclusion credentials, how you're including people, how you make sure people are included. So we're doing it because we've passed the test. We've ticked that box. We had to put this thing on our website that said this is our privacy policy, this is our inclusion policy, this is our learner safety policy, etc. So we've done all that to become accredited. But is that the reason we did it? Or maybe we do it because there's a logical reason, there's a business case. It makes financial sense to get our inclusion credentials correct. I know some people are really focused on the bottom line. And if things don't make business sense, you wouldn't do them. So it's important to think about what the business impact, the logical reason, why it matters financially and to the success of your business. Okay. But I'm a great believer in the pathos. Pathos is the emotional response, the human factor. So if we lead with humans in mind, we lead with trying to create environments that people resonate with, they feel that sense of belonging, and they feel part of your cohort, your tribe. That's where the magic happens. I think if we get it right from a human perspective, we'll get it right from a business case, and we'll be compliant. But by starting with humans, we become very authentic in what we're trying to deliver. Is that fair? Hope so. So what are we looking for here? And I talk about this ROI, not return on investment, but return on inclusion. So the ultimate aim that I talk about is positive people experiences. I want you, each one of you, to have a positive experience in interacting with me. I want you to come away and go, wow, Joanne really thought about me. Joanne was focused on my needs. Actually, Joanne's wonderful. Joanne's fantastic. Working with my business is also a pleasure. I'm seamless. I'm frictionless. I'm easy to deal with. I'm responsive. I care about the outcome. I'm often a great believer, if you think about how you want something to end, you'll focus on the steps to get to that objective. And if you're always having the objective in your mind, I want to create a positive experience for my learners, for my coachees, for my mentees, or whoever it may be, then that's the end in mind. And then all we have to do is join the dots up to make sure that occurs. And obviously check in to make sure you are delivering that. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So in the chat, if you don't mind, if you're able to, what does the word belonging mean to you? And if you're not able to, don't worry, just look at the chat and you'll see other people's thoughts. So just a word, just a phrase. What does belonging mean to you? I can see you typing. There we go. Love, being seen and heard. Excellent. Thanks, Lara and Sharon. Community partnership. Yeah. Rashida, Nina, not feeling excluded, not feeling awkward or being part of a group. Yes, or not being part of a group. Yeah, that's brilliant, Joe. Thank you. Acknowledging my presence, safety, psychological safety. Yes, we're going to talk about psychological safety, feeling valued, listened to, trust and safe, and yes, belonging. Dorothy, thank you. So it's all of those things. And we know when we don't belong. We feel that uncomfortableness. We feel that this place isn't for us. Yeah. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. You could be lonely in a group of people. I also think there's a difference between being included, so inclusion, and belonging. I can be included in something, yet not feel part of it, because either I'm not made to feel welcome, or the thing I'm being included in doesn't meet my values, doesn't meet my aspirations. I always think of it as my favorite coffee shop. I've got a really favorite coffee shop in the little town where I live, and it's got a lovely sofa. They welcome me with a smile when I walk in. I just feel so comfortable and relaxed, sitting at that sofa, looking out the window. My decaf Americano with my favorite bean. Yet if I go around the corner to another coffee shop, it just doesn't feel like my place. So I know when I feel belonging, the clothes I wear, the things I do, the people I'm with. So what we're trying to do is create a belongingness so people identify with you, your brand, your values, your style of how you present. Okay. So my core principle of inclusion is how people feel in your presence, in your company, by how you treat them. Yeah, it's a feeling. Inclusion, belongings are feelings. How I feel being with you, being with the group. So that's what we're trying to remember here. The danger is if we're not thinking of people, it's likely, instead of being consciously inclusive and including somebody, if we're not consciously thinking, it's likely we're unconsciously excluding. Yeah. So we're not consciously inclusive. We're highly likely to be consciously excluding, unconsciously excluding. So this is why we have to start really thinking in our heads, who aren't we thinking of? Have I thought of everybody? I'm trying to be paced with my talking, because I recognise we have people who have maybe English is not their primary language. So I need to speak more paced and more measured to ensure that people using screen readers maybe have harder hearing. You've got the captions turned on. Those captions keep pace. If I speak really, really quickly and then not only the captions are going to get lost, but also people whose first language isn't English will also start to struggle to hear me. Of course, I'm trying to be very visual, very engaging, keep eye contact, and also provide visuals for people who need the visuals. I'm trying to blend a bit of every learning style. Very conscious about the contrast, making sure the words and the letters stand out from the background without being too confusing. I could have just gone for plain backgrounds, and I do in some of the slides, because sometimes having a picture also creates confusion. So psychological safety. Someone put that in the chat earlier, which is excellent. It's really important we think about learner safety. If we think about the objective of this, and it's to build trust, so people can trust me and create space where you can contribute, you can participate, and you're going to be heard, seen, and valued. Yeah. So if we think about these 4 tenets of psychological safety, and I appreciate there's lots of words there, but I don't need to read them if you don't want to. I'll talk you through them. So the first one is inclusion safety. That means you can be yourself. You can show up. Bring your whole self to work. Whether it's my gender, whether it's my faith, whether it's my ethnicity, whether it's my neurodiversity, whatever that may be to you, I'm bringing that safety. So I value you for who you are, not for who I want you to be. Learner safety. You feel you can engage in the process. You can ask questions. You can pop something in the chat, because it's important that we hear you and you have the opportunity to grow. No child ever learns to walk without bumping their knee, banging their head. That's why we need to put carpet down, have sofas, soft cushions. Create an environment where they can learn to walk and fall over, but not hurt themselves. So we need to create environments for our learners where they can grow and learn without embarrassment, without fear of getting it wrong. And we create those soft cushion environments, because otherwise people don't feel they can grow. Contributor safety. You want to be able to share your own ideas. Pop it in the chat. Tell me what you're thinking. Are you agreeing with me? Are you disagreeing with me? You need to know that I value that contribution. So I'm acknowledging you, using your names, reading it out, sharing an interest in your thoughts. Because again, if we're not contributing, we're not acknowledged, we're not feeling valued, why am I here? Why do I bother? Is it worth it? And challenger safety. I need to be able to call it out. If something's not working for me or somebody else, I can say, stop, hang on a minute, let's get this right. And you know that someone's going to listen to you, not going to embarrass you, victimize you, or whatever it may be. So these are the 4 tenets. And I often ask people to reflect quickly is, do you feel that? Do you consciously think about that in the environments you create as well? How do people feel around you? Or more importantly, can you recognize when these 4 items aren't in place? Have you been in that environment where you thought, actually, I tried to contribute and they weren't interested? Or I had to get it right first time, and if I didn't, they laughed at me. So that's not the environment we're trying to create here. We're trying to create this psychological safety. Okay. Next one is cultural intelligence. So cultural intelligence is being aware of different cultures, backgrounds, ethnicities, disabilities. And we haven't got to know every single nuance about every single person, just the fact that people are different. And if we go for this conscious inclusion, I'm consciously thinking about who isn't this working for. So I'll be comfortable, competent in a diverse situation. And CQ, cultural intelligence, has 4 key areas. CQ drive, that's you care enough to want to find out more, in essence. Knowledge is seeking that knowledge about different cultures, different backgrounds. Then having a strategy, because knowledge and drive is dangerous without a strategy. So we have to think about how we apply our knowledge to get it right. Of course, once we have the knowledge, the strategy, and that drive, then we can start to take action. Because once we're in that learning zone, once we're in that thinking zone ourselves, we can make sure we're adapting to different people's styles. Is this going okay for everybody? Again, if you need me to slow down, explain something differently, just pop it in the chat as we go. Absolutely fine. I can talk about that. So let me give you a quick example here. Let's think about deafness, hearing impairment, hearing loss as a characteristic. People with hearing loss have a real diverse experience. So people who are born deaf often use capital D, deaf. People who've acquired their hearing loss or hearing impairment over their life tend to use small case d to describe themselves. Not every deaf person has a cochlear implant. Not every deaf person has a hearing aid. Not every deaf person signs, uses BSL or lip reads. So if we're thinking about a person with hearing loss, how are we interacting? How are we making sure that they're included in our events? Same again, blindness, sight loss. Are we providing screen readers? Are we making sure the content described? Are we relying on someone reading something off the screen? Or are we explaining everything to a level where everybody can participate, whether they have hearing loss, sight impairment, neurodiversity, whatever it may be? So again, we have to use our cultural intelligence here and psychological safety and all the other aspects I've talked about and conscious inclusion to make sure people feel valued and included. And language matters. Language matters because go back to that inclusion, that belonging, and don't worry, we're going to do a breakout in a minute. I'll come back to that. It's how we make people feel. Inclusion is how you make me feel. Language is part of that. If I'm using the wrong language, talking the wrong way, not respecting you, I'm not going to make you feel included or belonging. So it's about ensuring dignity, respect. We're valuing that person as an individual. We're not using stereotypes, not making assumptions about people. We're making sure we build trust. Trust is where people want to be. They have to trust me that I'm safe, I'm giving good knowledge, I'm giving good expertise, and I'm there to listen, back to that psychological safety. And I want participation. I want you to contribute in the chat. I want to hear your thoughts, and we'll go into the breakout room in a minute. Again, you have the opportunity to share those thoughts with each other and then feed them back, okay? So again, these are the kind of rules, well, guides, really, not rules, that we're trying to foster in our environments as trainers, speakers, coaches, however you identify yourself. Okay, so it's important that we own our thoughts, words, and deeds. So this is kind of the last main thing here at the introduction. Intent versus impact. What I intended doesn't always reflect on how it was perceived, that impact. People are inherently kind. People are inherently wanting to do the right thing. But people often make a mistake through either lack of knowledge or clumsiness or just completely unaware of the needs of the other person. I don't know if you've ever come across Hanlon's razor. It basically don't attribute to malice what is it's actually incompetence or lack of competence. So most people engage believing they're a good person, believing they're doing the right thing. So we recognize that my intent is half the battle, but the impact is the other half. Difference between manslaughter and murder. Murder, the intent is to kill, but someone dies. Manslaughter, the intent wasn't to kill, but still someone dies. So the impact in both the scenarios is the same. Someone died, but the intent was different. So we have to recognize that intent matters, but impact is what we're doing and creating in the other person. So again, how we interact, how we create that impact, we have to recognize that it may not always land correctly for everybody, okay? So the golden rule is treat other people as you'd like to be treated, but I'd like us to all think about the platinum rule. Treat people as they'd like to be treated. Recognizing their lived experience, their differences, their needs as a person-centric engagement. I have to care about you as an individual, not you as a group, okay? So I have to think about how you'd like to be treated, okay? And that may mean spending more time asking people about their needs, preparing, asking if people have accessibility needs, any particular language, their pronouns, their gender identity, their sexuality, all these things where relevant. Make sure you respect that person for who they are. Okay, I'm not going to go through those. You can have these when I copy the slides, but here's some learner engagement tips. Okay, so I'm going to go into a poll now. So let's do a bit of a poll. We've got 3 polls. Just do them quite quickly. So here's number 1. Describe psychological safety. What best describes psychological safety? So we've got agreeing with everyone to avoid conflict, feeling safe to take interpersonal risks without fear of punishment, keeping personal opinions to oneself, or only speaking when prompted. What do we think? Who's gonna give it a go? Hey, look at that. You're good, aren't you? You're good. You've been listening. Oh, awesome. So everyone's come up with feeling safe to take interpersonal risks without fear of punishment. Yay. Good. 13, 14. So I'm going to end that poll now so we can move on. But thank you for contributing to that one. Let's see what the next poll is. And the next one is share the results. Oh, I didn't share the results. That's why you didn't see it. So there we are. 14 out. 100% said feeling safe to take interpersonal risks without fear of punishment. Well done. Okay, back. Next poll. 2. What true inclusion looks like in practice. Is it treating everyone the same? Inviting underrepresented people, could put my teeth back in, to meetings? Creating environments where everyone feels respected and valued? Or is it avoiding difficult conversations? I know sometimes avoiding difficult conversations is it's sometimes what you want to do, but yeah, actually tackling the difficult conversations is also important. Right, so we've got, everyone's gone for creating environments where everyone feels respected and valued. And that's what we're about, creating these environments where everyone feels respected and valued. Well done. Okay, so last poll. Launch this. Oh, there we are. Have I launched it? Oh, I've got to get rid of the other one first. Sorry. Stop sharing that one. Try launch. Okay. Fostering belonging in a learning environment. Make sure people don't feel excluded. Help people feel authentically accepted as part of the group. Ensure people conform to group norms. Or is it encouraging people to fit in at all costs? Sort of cram them into the tube. Yeah. Yeah, I can see we've got a majority here. Yeah, we're all going for. Well, I shouldn't say you haven't all voted yet. I'm getting excited. Yeah, everyone's going for the second option, so I won't. I'm not ruining anything here. So yes, fostering a belonging in a learning environment is about helping people feel authentically accepted as part of the group. So that belongingness. How do I feel? Yeah, that's what we're going for. Good. Thank you. Well done. So I'll just pop that on the screen so you can see. Good. Right. Poll's done. Excellent. Right. So I'm going to pop you in a breakout now. We're going to go 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the breakout, and then how many have we got? We've got 18 people. We've got someone in the waiting room. Oh, sorry, Wendy. Wendy got stuck in the waiting room there. Right. So we've got 19 participants minus me, minus Kirsty and Amanda. So that's 16. So I'll do 4 breakout rooms of 4, and I'll just go random, if that's okay. If you don't want to participate, that's fine. Just decline the invite. It doesn't matter. Breakout rooms. Create 4 breakout rooms. Assign automatically. Don't include the co-hosts. Oh, come on. Let's put Amanda in there. Amanda, if you want to take part, please do. And here we go. So I'm going to create these. I'm going to open them. So 5 minutes. The question is, what one practice has helped you create a safer space, a more welcoming space in your own coaching business? Okay. Everybody, welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that you nominated somebody from each room to be your feedback person. If not, then anybody who likes speaking out, please feel free to dive in. So room 1, we had Amanda, Diffrig, Rachel, and Stephanie. Would one of those people like to just give a quick summary, just a 20-second, not a whole massive, great big report, just a quick, what were the key things? Amanda, Diffrig, Rachel, or Stephanie?
We didn't, I'm sorry, Joe, we didn't create a nominated person, but one of the things...
As you've spoken first, go for it.
Okay. One of the things we talked about was making sure that people know from the offset that this is a safe space to for people to come together and learn, and to make sure that everybody feels included, and that whatever's going to be discussed sort of is not confidential to the sales to the training environment, but that every idea and every comment, I suppose, is a good idea. We also talked about the fact that as a trainer, it's good to go and say a quiet hello to everybody before the actual course starts, to sort of have a little brief introduction, and sort of get to know people on an individual basis, and then pick up any little nuances. And then finally, I think I'm summarising this discussion quite well, but I might have missed a few things. To always sometimes think, when someone asks a question, well, why are you answering that question? What potentially is behind that question? So that's a brief summary. I don't know, group one.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds like a really in-depth. Wow, fantastic! What a great conversation that must have been. So yeah, well done.
No problem.
Does anyone from group 2 have other thoughts? That was Donna, Dorothy, Lara, or Rashida?
I don't mind speaking out, because I know Donna can't speak. She's in an office environment.
Oh, okay.
And the other two
Donna.
were not on camera, so I don't mind
Okay.
going through. Generally, just to add to what Amanda said, really, is that reading the room came up, just that non-verbal, verbal check-in, so you're asking, you're telling, this is a safe environment. And I think beyond that, asking the why, why are you here? What brought you here today? What are you hoping to get out of it? Just to acknowledge the levels of engagement. Within my own company, we do an emotional check-in as well. We tend to ask people where their energy is, how they're feeling. So it's just a nice way of reading the room. And it also brings up some really interesting conversations just in that first 10 minutes. If we've got time, and we can do that online and in person. So, and I think Donna was saying lots of different teaching techniques, but we ran out of time. We didn't really get to explore what they are.
That's really interesting. If we've got time, and I always say when I'm working with my clients, I say, look, if you want to shrink the session time, you're saying, well, we're going to give you half an hour, we're going to give you an hour. I say, well, the problem with that is it limits the interaction, it limits the engagement. You just end up me talking at you. So I always say, look, if you want to get the value out of the session, we need to factor in the human factor. And that's really, really important. So again, I would try and coach my clients to say, look, you need to give me 3 hours. Otherwise, you're really just giving them the sheep dip. You're not doing anything here. So yeah, really good point. Factor that in as part of the course, part of the session. Yeah, really good point. Room 3 was Jay, Juliet, Carl, and Rani.
Carl, could you please speak? It's just because you made some good points, and additionally, you kind of covered Juliet's and mine as well. Thanks.
Oh, I think you could speak up if you want to, Rani. And we also didn't get to hear from Jay. Unfortunately, the audio wasn't working for Jay. But a quick summary: Juliet was talking about the participant agreement that you mentioned, Joanne. Juliet, forgive me, I can't remember what you call it when you're doing it. Do you want to remind me? Sorry.
I call it the designed alliance. So, but you do it in writing in advance, so that you help those who kind of want to know what space they're going into in advance of when you meet. And then at the start of the meeting, it's a contract around how, what setting expectations, etc., and understanding how people like to operate within that space.
Super, yeah. And then Rani talked about kind of saying yes to when people want to speak and letting them speak kind of as long as they feel they need to. Is that about right, Rani? And whenever someone has kind of those impulsion to add something, to let them do that essentially, or give them the space to do that.
And also as let them speak as little as they want to as well. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And if they've remained quiet, I might just probe them. But if they just want to speak as little, that's fine. And I might just repeat or say what they've added to that conversation as well. And that's it. And, you know, allow them to still feel safe and not feel intimidated or uncomfortable.
Yeah, good point. I also think you can use a rhetorical question. You know, is that okay, Rani? And you can, all you've got to do is nod or smile at me. You haven't got to say anything. You can interact differently or give me a thumbs up. So again, trying to summarize the mood without forcing someone to say something. So again, that's a contributor safety. I'm free to contribute if I want to, free not to contribute if I don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
And that was kind of similar to the one that I wanted to share, because I draw a lot from improv. The whole idea of yes and, of not kind of saying no to things if, you know, within reason, and making sure that there's a yes and it builds into what you're kind of exploring. But kind of Rani's thought, I thought, kind of encapsulated that. So I shared something we've done recently where we kind of reevaluated two of our policies, our governance and our complaints procedure policies, and we kind of, I kind of stepped back and thought, these aren't working. They're too legalese. They're too he said, she said, they said kind of stuff. It's blank, depersonalized language. So I went front and center and put our underpinning ethos, you know, our kind of mission statement as a company, our underpinning principles, and put that front and center. And then all of a sudden, it all made sense. And it was, yeah, that felt really good. And we didn't get to hear from Jay.
What I tend to do if I'm setting up what I want people to interact, I try and create an expectation of what good looks like or sounds like. You know, I often say this is a one breath check-in. Your name, where you're from, what you're looking to get out today, in one breath. So it kind of gives people the expectation that it's not a half an hour conversation you're wanting, it's just 20 seconds. So try and give, if you lead it on, because sometimes if someone is over contributing, you want to give them the space to contribute as they want to, but also recognize that they could be dominating the group as well. So it's trying to find that middle ground, isn't it, between allowing it to continue, but also bounding it in reasonableness. So yeah, well done. Thank you. Room 4 was Magda, Nina and Sharon. Any additional thoughts?
So I'll share from our group. So we just with regards to communication, something else that we would like to add to everything what's been discussed is that I encourage the use of reactions, so that and that enables everyone to have a voice. So as we're going through the day, you know, if they're shocked by something, then I encourage, you know, use the shock one, or if they like something, thumbs up or a smiley face. And that allows people, you know, to engage in a range of different ways, and they're all being heard. Sorry, Nina and Magda, I may have this the wrong way around, so I won't put names at the side. But I think it was Nina who said, you know, about asking questions and giving them the opportunity, if they don't feel comfortable, you know, to ask that in the room, that they can write to her afterwards, and get in touch that way. And then around Magda shared around giving people the option to ask a question, and encourage them that every question opens a door, and so don't be afraid, you know, to ask that question. And then finally we talked about trust, and you know, talking about what this means and how this impacts everyone, and it creates that safe space for people to have those conversations. But that was just some of ours, what we discussed.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sharon. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? You could pop it in the chat if you want as you go through, if you don't feel like you've been listened to. But if you're okay, can we move on? Is that all right? Everyone nodding? Excellent. Right, let me just spotlight myself again. So some really good stuff there. I talked earlier about conscious inclusion. And let me give you a really visual example of where conscious inclusion can go wrong. So this is a thermos flask for soup. That's what I use it for. You can put hot food in there. And it's so you pop your soup in there, put your lid back on, and at lunchtime, it's got a spoon in the lid. That's handy, isn't it? So let me show you what's wrong with this spoon. So this spoon was designed by a right-handed person. It was tested by a right-handed person. It was signed off by a right-handed person. The product, everything to do with this product was designed by right-handed people. How do I know that? Because I'm left-handed. So as a left-handed person, what happens when I use this spoon? It folds up. folds up. If I'm right-handed, it locks. So when you're designing your systems, your courses, your programs, are you excluding left-handers? So 10% of the population inadvertently have been excluded from the enjoyment of this product because you haven't got all of the thoughts and all the people in your head. So that could be neurodiverse, it could be whatever different type of person you're thinking of. And I'm sure there are people who don't feel fully included in this session today. Maybe I haven't thought of them. Maybe I didn't ask the right question. So yeah, don't design soup flasks for right-handed people unless you specifically advertise it as a right-handed soup flask, or persuade every left-hander to change hands to use it properly. So that's a visual example of how you can inadvertently exclude people if you're not consciously thinking about it. Okay, right, let's go back. So perspectives in practice. I always say it's not about being right, it's not about being wrong. We're not trying to win, we're not trying to lose, not a zero-sum game. It's trying to create environments where we listen to people and their views. Where's my button? Wrong button. So let's consider this equation. E plus R equals O. Don't worry, it's not mathematics, not algebra. E plus R equals O. So E is an encounter. You encounter something, something happens, whatever it may be. Of course, you react. Ooh, ow, E. And then there's an outcome, the O. So E plus R equals O. How you see something, something happens, you have to make a decision, you react to that, that leads to an outcome. But what we have to remember is that we don't all react in the same way. We don't all perceive that encounter in the same way. So that plus is our perspective. How I perceive that thing, that requirement, that need will dictate how I react, therefore dictate how the outcome comes. Give you a classic example. When we vote in an election, which many are going to be doing next week, or is it this week? We don't all vote for the same people. Why not? Because we all have a different perspective on who the best candidate is. Why? Some people like a different coloured party. Some people like the logo. Some people like the person's name. Some people like where the person lives. Some people like their policies. Some people like the way they speak. Or maybe it's a negative bias where you don't like somebody because of something. And that's down to our own perspective, our own lived experience, our own biases. So I encourage people not to get caught up in outcomes, but to start talking about perspectives. Because I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with your outcome, but I can agree with your perspective or your right to hold that perspective, your belief, whatever that may be. So I don't need to get into that argument. So it's a great way of starting a conversation. Oh, that's really interesting. Tell me why you believe that. That's fantastic. Yeah, I can engage in why you believe something. We don't have to agree because I have my perspective as well. So avoid challenging each other on the outcomes and recognize and value people's perspectives. Okay. So give you another example here. This mini me. One person will swear it's black, the other person will swear it's right. But unless we shift and rotate our view of the world, if you think about the Rocky Horror Show time warp, the sort of step to the left, jump to the right, that shift in our perspective, we can see something differently. So there's my view, there's your view. Often there's a shared view, which is why diversity of thought, diversity of thinking adds more perspectives on a situation. And I also invite people to be prepared to be wrong. In fact, start by being wrong. If you start by being wrong, you'll try and overcome your own confirmation bias by seeking out what you believe is right. By seeking out other people's perspectives and giving them true airing, we can then modify our own thinking. Critical thinking, deep thinking, it's all about getting more information. Scientists spend their entire careers trying to prove each other wrong or to test their theory out. And the more you test a theory, the stronger it is. Doesn't mean to say it's infallible. Pluto went from being non-existent to being a planet to being an exoplanet, all in the space of several decades. So we evolve our thinking. So we can have our opinions, we can have our beliefs, but let's let them go. Let's not be a prisoner to them. You don't have to be right. Just understand perspectives. So if you think about Hertzberg, you've studied any of Hertzberg, performance equals motivation times ability times environment. And what happens is we spend so much time worrying about the motivation, the happy stuff, the clappy stuff, but we often forget about the environment. And the environment is where we create psychological safety, the learning environment, how we treat people, the respect we give. Because if I don't get that right, those are negative factors. And no matter how much we try to motivate, we can never overcome those negative factors. And again, we think about a bit of old Maslow, good old hierarchy of needs. If we're not careful, we ignore the hygiene levels, making sure people are listened to, respected, feel safe in our presence. And we go straight to trying to create love and belonging. So we have to get those basic foundations correct and in place first. So if we think about inclusive versus non-inclusive or non-inclusive versus, so a training video, if we're using training examples where everybody is white, able-bodied, middle-aged men, and we can clearly see we need to create different case studies featuring Black disabled women in a project or something. So again, the imagery we're putting in our videos, the examples we're using, materials consistent using he, or referring to an avatar of somebody in your mind that is male biased. So again, what we need to do is either use gender neutral pronouns, they, if it doesn't matter, or create a range of perspective and imagery and gender identities in the examples we're using. Think about how we're celebrating. In this example, Christian holidays, Christmas, Easter, without referencing others, Diwali, any other religious festival you're thinking of. So again, include other cultures in your examples. And that might just be down to imagery. We're using Christmas trees and robins and stuff like that. We've got to think about other faiths and different calendar items. Marketing images, only slim, non-disabled individuals. We've got to show a diversity of body size, disability, skin color, age, etc. So again, we just got to think about the materials. In this particular slide deck, I think I've pretty much used very nondescript imagery where I can, not trying to use people as a focus. I tend to focus on myself because I'm the presenter, so I'm trying to give you the values from me, so I am me. But if you are using images, you are using videos, make sure you're thinking about who isn't being shown here. Okay. Right, some reflection points. Just think about who isn't centered in your own case studies, images, and examples. What assumptions might you and your learners need to challenge about themselves or about the environment? And how do you signal in advance? We talked about that contract just now about making sure that we're signaling in advance. How do we signal that I'm going to be welcome here? Is it for me? Is it for all people? Are we recognizing that different learning styles, different interaction styles that contribute to safety, that psychological safety is going to be considered? Or are people going to be anxious when they turn up? Sorry, I've got my camera off. I've got my dirty washing in the back. I can't be here. So again, are people anxious when they arrive? If they are, they're not going to be on their A game. So if your learners don't see yourselves in their materials, they won't see themselves in your message. So again, you've got to try and talk to the person. And it's very easy to talk to the group, but it's very important really to talk to you as an individual. I'm addressing you. If we were in a theatre, I can talk to the audience, but I'm not. I'm talking effectively one-to-one. You're in your own living room, you're in your own office, you're looking at me, I'm talking to you. And that's important to use the you, not the we sometimes. So how inclusive is your current practice? And I was going to go into a breakout room now, but given we've only got 5 minutes to go, I think I'd rather use this time just to wrap up and allow for a bit of questions, a bit of open mic if anyone wants to contribute. Is that okay? So let's go for that. I've got some more reflection points, which we can cover. I'll send you the slide deck. There's things to remember. I think we've covered those. But again, what I can do is I'll send you the slide deck and there's a QR code, which makes sure I get it to you. Right, so the key output from today is what's one thing you're going to commit to doing differently? Yeah, ACT, action changes things. Otherwise, the hour has been interesting, I hope. But if you don't bring change, then learning hasn't occurred. So the learning outcome from today is what are you going to change? What are you going to start doing differently? What thought is now in your head? So let's dive into a bit of open mic. I'll turn my slides off. I'll remove the spotlight. And I suggest either my normal method for this is either put your hand up or just unmute yourself and start talking and we'll figure it out. Or pop it in the chat. So Mashida, bring all my participants under one umbrella. Yeah, excellent. Lara, put your hand up.
Hi. I was just, what was going in my mind was just to review the learning materials and any marketing that we've got coming up, because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes that you don't, if you're not thinking about that person, are you excluding? Are you sort of unconsciously excluding? So that was the bit that resonated with me. It's just, I believe that I'm as inclusive as I can be, but actually that's why I'm here, just to just keep getting better, to keep improving. And just so for me, it's about the action to really have a new lens and go away and review the materials that we use and make sure they are inclusive for everyone.
Yeah, I think that comes down to intent and impact. Your intent is to be inclusive for everybody.
Yeah.
But the reality is you may not, because you can't think of everything. You can only have your good intent. So yeah, always being aware that your plan A might not be enough and you need a plan B.
Yes, exactly. And to always instill that curiosity.
Yes, for sure. But if that QR code works, is it too small or is it okay? It does sort of work. I'll spotlight myself just in case, so you can see it. So yeah, I can still see you if you want to contribute.
Yeah, I just added into chat, John. Thank you for the session. Good session. Just the plus in the formula that you created, so E plus R equals O. I think typically at the moment, politically, there's a lot of division. Everything seems very binary at the moment. Yes, I'm right, you're wrong. And there's not a lot of grey in the middle. So actually reinforcing that plus point in the middle.
Yeah.
It's a very simple but very powerful equation, I think, just as part of a conversation piece. I think that's that's really valuable.
And also by listening to someone's why, you're creating inclusion because you're listening, you're understanding, you're discussing, that you're letting people express their fears, their concerns, without getting hung up on the polarizing debate. It's like, if I understand why you're upset, why you're polarized, I don't have to agree with you. We may have different perspectives, but at least we've both been heard. Excellent, good point though. Anybody else got any thoughts? I would say it's quite tough to hold space sometimes when you are in some of those discussions. So, thinking about your own psychological safety, thinking about how you engage in challenging conversations, how you live that mantra to create that safe space, that open discussion where something maybe personally affects you is also quite a challenge. So yeah, none of these things are without your own investment and work. Okay, so we've got 30 seconds, I guess. I'll hand back to Amanda to do the wrap, I guess. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. And do connect with me on LinkedIn. Do scan the QR code. Do say hi. It's been an absolute honour and privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joanne. I mean, it's a fantastic session. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that everybody else did as well. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. But I think, it's such an important topic for us at the moment as educators, coaches and trainers, to make sure, as you say, that the people are working with the people, properly, and making everybody feel that they have a voice, and that they have their, the best learning that they can from you as a provider, because that's ultimately, what it's all about. And we want, as people, we want everybody to feel included and as part of our network and our community. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I can see here in the chat lots and lots of thank yous for a great session. So it's been a pleasure. It's been an honour to host you. I would urge everybody to connect with Joanne on LinkedIn. I know that we'll circulate the PowerPoint slides and the recording. of this session, and thank you again. And thank you to everybody for attending as well and kicking off your Monday and your week with such an informative session for ourselves. So Joanne, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Everybody else on the call, happy Monday. Time to get started now into our working weeks, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month on our monthly webinar series. So thanks again, Joanne, and goodbye to everybody. Hopefully see you next month. Take care.
Thanks, Amanda.